Good evening, and thank you for being with us tonight. I'm Jennifer Bellamy. There is a growing memorial right now for the two 14-year-old students and two math teachers shot and killed Wednesday at Apalachee High School in Barrow County. Investigators just starting to piece together the details as another teen now sits behind bars accused in the deadly mass shooting. 11 Alive News anchor Ron Jones leading our team coverage tonight from Apalachee High School. And Ron, we can see, we have been able to see the memorials growing there behind you.
And it continues to grow, Jennifer. I mean, you can see family members showing up, students showing up, a lot of emotion there. Now, about 2 hours ago, we did receive the suspected shooter's mugshot. So let's get to that right now. This is 14-year-old Colt Gray. He was investigated by authorities about alleged threats. This was last year. Well, investigators told local schools to monitor him, but decided there was no probable cause to actually arrest him. They didn't have enough evidence to actually arrest him. 11 Alive's Molly Oak joins us now more about the suspect. Now, Molly, tell us a little bit more about this. We're learning that he had not been a student very long at this school, at Apalachee High School, right?
Yeah, Ron, the Barrow County Sheriff saying that Colt Gray had really just enrolled 2 weeks ago and that yesterday was only his second day as a student at the school. In an interview with NBC tonight, the sheriff is giving us more insight into the tragedy that rocked this community. 10:20 a.m. Wednesday in Winder.
We got the alerts from the strategics that we had an active shooter at Apalachee High School.
Apalachee High School goes on a hard lockdown.
It was carnage. There was blood everywhere. You could smell the gunpowder. You could smell a lot of screaming, yelling, a little bit of chaos.
Barrow County Sheriff Judd Smith says the shooter was stopped just minutes after the alerts.
We prevented more deaths with our SROs interacting with the suspect within minutes, 5 or 6 minutes. They come around the hallway. They were armed, obviously, he was. They interacted with him, they gave him verbal commands, and he dropped the gun, went on the ground, and they took him into custody immediately.
The GBI says 14-year-old Colt Gray is charged with 4 counts of felony murder, with more charges expected. This is a yearbook photo of Gray from 2 years ago.
Our heart breaks and goes out to the families of the 4 victims that were killed and murdered, because that's what this is a murder.
Smith says the 9 people injured in the shooting are all expected to be okay. The GBI says today they are performing the autopsies of the 4 victims. It also says Colt Gray's first appearance is expected tomorrow. He will appear virtually. Reporting live in Winder, Molly Oak, 11 Alive News.
Molly Oak, thanks a lot for that amazing coverage today for the past couple of days. By the way, folks, tonight investigators say that they're still working to try to nail down an actual clear timeline of the accused shooter's actions. But here's what we know so far about what happened inside Apalachee High School on Wednesday morning.
A student named Layla Sararath spoke to CNN and said that the alleged shooter left her classroom around 9:45 a.m. She says he came back toward the end of the class with a gun, but another student refused to open the door. So she says he went to the classroom next door and opened fire. Around 10:20 a.m., the Barrow County Sheriff's Office says it had received the first alert of an active shooting situation at Apalachee High School. School resource officers responded, and so did law enforcement. And within 6 minutes of that first alert, the Sheriff's Office says that Colt Gray was taken into custody. We're told the alert system teachers wear can immediately trigger a lockdown. It's unclear exactly when that lockdown was lifted. However, 11 Alive heard from the Barrow County School District around 11:34 a.m., letting us know that students were being released to go home and class was canceled for the rest of the week.
And you know, we should also point out that there was crime scene tape as soon as we got here last night. However, the crime scene tape is now down. That's why you see a lot of the loved ones, some of the students showing up at these makeshift memorials. Now let's talk about the victims. The shooting claimed the lives of 2 math teachers. We're talking about 39-year-old Richard Aspinwall and 53-year-old Christina Irami. 2 of the 14-year-old students were killed also, Kristen Angulo and Mason Shamir Horn as well. So those are the actual 4 victims in this horrific, tragic accident. Let's send it over to Grace King right now with a lot more as we're learning more from the families of the victims.
Absolutely, Ron. It's a quiet but emotional day here at Apalachee High School. We've seen a crowd growing all day. Right now, they're gathered in prayer around that makeshift memorial you talked about as they remember and honor the victims.
I just thought it was the right thing, it's God asking me, put these flowers,
14-year-old Christopher Quintanar grappling with tragedy at his own school.
I've just been shook, I haven't been feeling the same. I cried this morning, it's very hard. It was mostly it was people from my grade, and it's just really hard.
He isn't sure how they can ever go back.
It's a good environment, but ever since that day, I don't think I feel safe here.
As investigators continue searching for answers, Christopher's peers prayed for the victims. 14-year-olds Mason Schermerhorn and Christian Angulo, as well as teachers Richard Aspinwall and Christina Irami.
The one who cared, she was one of my favorites.
Senior Joshua Pruitt says he'll miss being in Miss Irami's class.
It's sad. I feel bad for her and her family, and I mainly feel bad for the people that didn't get to meet her and didn't get to experience the joy she brought to the school.
He hopes district leaders will give them more time to heal.
I understand wanting to continue her education, but that's just not how they should do it.
And the thing about Winder is this is a tight-knit community. You can see everyone gathering in prayer, finding strength in each other, remembering their loved ones, and being there for each other. They will, of course, continue to do that in the coming weeks and months. Live in Winder, Grace King, 11 Alive News.
Yeah, that's right, Grace. We see it every single day, every moment, every minute that they're here right now. We're going to send things over to Karis Belger. And Karis, before we get to you, the last time we talked to you, we can tell that you have spoke with a lot of students there. There was a lot of emotion. You felt that emotion. Are you doing okay?
I am, Ron. It's, as you can imagine, hard to not be emotional when you hear so many children talking about what they've experienced and then the people they've lost, especially Coach A. I've heard so many stories about Richard Aspinwall, that's his name, but everyone said he was Coach A to them, and no matter what, they know that they could count on him. It was once a place where they came to learn, but today Apalachee High School students returned to grieve.
We really just didn't want to believe it because that was somebody who we would have never expected for this to happen on any given day.
Isaiah Hooks came to lay his bouquet and remember the victims of the shooting that happened Wednesday. One in particular, Coach Richard Aspinwall.
Some people were around it when it had happened, so they were telling their parents, and then they had told us.
He was known simply as Coach A and was one of 4 people killed. A 14-year-old student is now in custody for the shooting. Thursday, current and former athletes like Markel Broughton say his impact could be felt well beyond the football field.
He would always check up on me after anything that ever popped up. He was always reaching out.
A relationship that went beyond player and coach.
He showed you that he cared about you. He showed you that you were always on his mind.
Memories both athletes say are more precious than ever. And you heard from football players, past and present, in that story, but I have heard from students who had him as a teacher. He was a math teacher who said even then they knew, even if they'd never played a single game on the turf, that Coach A would be there for him. That's an impact that goes far beyond any classroom and any football field. In Winder, Karis Belger, 11 Alive News.
All right, Karis, thanks a lot, folks. Before we go, I just want to push in real quick to show you that they're having a prayer vigil as we speak. As the flags are at half staff, you see balloons, you see folks gathered around. And Jennifer, I just want to say that is continuing to grow day by day, minute by minute. And we're going to talk about the 9 other victims that are expected to recover. We'll talk about that later coming up. On 11 Alive News at 6.
All right, Ron, yeah, a lot of people thinking of those families and those victims as well tonight. Thank you. Well, our coverage of the deadly mass shooting at Apalachee High School continues in just a few minutes. We're going to look at how the accused shooter had access to an AR-style rifle at the age of 14 and whether anyone else could face charges in this case.